Yeah, boy.
Hashtag hungry. Feed me.
Before we start, just want to apologize for any names I mispronounce. Severe dyslexia, can't do anything about it. Alrighty, so recently I just watched Saltburn, and because it just got released on Prime, and I had to put my Twilight video on hold just so I can make this video, because this film, okay, oh my goodness, there's so much things to talk about. Let's just jump right in. So, Saltburn was written and directed by Emerald Fennell, and it starts Barry Cogan, Jacob Elordi, Rosemaude Pike, Alison Oliver, Archie Medwick, Kerry McGolligan, and Ethan Mitchell. So before we dive into what I liked and disliked about the film, I just want to say that it brings two of the most beautiful boys, in my opinion, on screen. Well, two of the most beautiful white boys on screen, and just gives us so much erotic undertones. So homoerotic undertones that aren't really undertones because it's straight in our face. And the film dives into obsession and desire and lust and this kind of trying to obtain beauty, what it is to be beautiful. And it just ties it into this realm of obsession. Did I like this movie? I enjoyed aspects of this movie, but overall I did find that the film itself lacked a lot of things in terms of kind of the story and where it was headed, and it just felt very predictable. Now, what I loved about this film straight away, I noticed that the way that lighting was used to make the film almost look like it was a painting. And as a lover of art, I noticed that it looked like a lot of the Baroque paintings that I've seen. And after I finished the film, I went to watch so many interviews with the director, Emerald, and she talks about how she wanted, while talking with a cinematographer, how she wanted it to resemble a Baroque painting. And they had two artists, or one artist in particular, a Baroque painter, who she was as heavily inspired by. So it was really interesting to see how kind of the Baroque period added and built upon kind of this Gothic world that she was trying to build, which I found was so, so beautiful. Now, what I loved about it, that the casting was superb, and the performances by Barry and Jacob were just so superb. They were Oliver and Felix in the best of sense. So I'm just going to dive in and talk about the story. So the story follows a kid called Oliver, and it's set in 2006-2007, and he has a full ride scholarship to Oxford University, which is a very prestigious kind of old money type of university, and you can automatically tell that he's a fish out of the water straight away in the terms that he dresses. And the first time we see him, he's dressed in kind of a blazer and a tie, and he has a scarf, and while everyone around him is just, wearing normal casual clothing, and you can tell that he's trying to fit in. Or maybe this was Oliver's view of what he thought that students in Oxford wore, and which kind of tells that he's just from a different, social class. And then Oliver stares out his dorm room, and then we see Felix for the first time, literally a tall glass of water. He sticks out. He's so beautiful. He has a radiant smile, and of course, he's played by the charismatic Jacob Elordi, who just did such an incredible job portraying Felix. He meets another outcast, Michael, and you can tell both of them are just, not meant to be here, and he's kind of a bit unhinged, but that's okay.
Come on. It's not like I don't believe you.
Please, come on. No, I believe. Fucking ask me something!
And then we see, Oliver, following like Felix, or he has lingering eyes. His gaze is always like searching for Felix. And then we meet Farlan, and Farlan is, we find out later that he is the cousin of Felix. And Farlan he's black, he's American, and you can tell he's an outcast in his way too. And so Felix and Oliver, so Farlan and Oliver clearly don't get along because Farland, sees Oliver as a try-hard and, kind of like a black sheep, which is funny since he's also a black sheep in his own way. Oliver and Felix meet each other for the first time when Felix has a flat tire. He's sitting, it looks like he's crying. And then Oliver's like, you can borrow my bike. And he's like, really? You gonna let me borrow your bike? He's like, sure, go ahead, but borrow my bike. And then he borrows his bike and he kisses him on the forehead. He's like, thanks, Ollie. And then he goes. I'm like, oh, that was pretty cute. And then they have another interaction. And then Felix like loves to know everything about everyone, particularly Oliver, because after they're getting to know each other, he wants Oliver to tell him everything. Tell me about your life. Tell me about this. Tell me about your parents. Then Oliver's like, my parents are both addicts. I come from a very poor background and life. He just paints us the most saddest of stories. And because Felix is in a way kind of has a savior complex, he wants to protect Oliver and he wants to take care of Oliver and all that kind of stuff. Ollie cries to Felix saying that his dad died, and Felix is like, oh my God, you know what? You should come back to my estate in Saltburn, my estate Saltburn, and you should stay there for the summer. And
Well, why don't you come home with me? Come to Saltburn.
And Oliver being like, how can I say no to that? Goes, and he's then thrown into this lavish lifestyle of just like the way that the 1% live, and he's just in awe of everything, and he's a shy, timid little boy. He's like, oh my God, thank you so much, Felix, for taking care of me. And he's like, yeah, no problem, because you're my mate. And then we meet his family. We meet his mother, her name is very hard for me to pronounce, but I'm going to try my best. We meet his mother, Elspeth, and then we meet his sister, Venetia, and then Felix's dad, Sir James. And then, of course, we meet Pamela, Carey McGolligan, and she's kind of like Oliver in the sense that she just wants to stay in Saltburn and never leave. So Felix's parents, or Felix's mother, is very stuck up. She's kind of very white, rich, old money type of thinking, uneducated. Just the way that she tries to make everything about herself, kind of paints you a very vivid visual of, who they are and the environment Felix grew up in. Now, Venetia is Felix's sister. Now, Venetia has an eating disorder. She's bulimic. And, the mother kind of describes her as almost like a sexual deviant, which is very strange for a parent to speak that way about the child, but it just kind of shows how they like to pry into everyone's business. Because the way that Oliver learns and understands Venetia is through the eyes of everyone around her. He never takes the chance to know Venetia through Venetia. He knows Venetia through what everyone else says.
Poor V, the boy's just run a mile.
Why?
Well, she gives it away for free. She's sexually incontinent. Has been since she was 14.
Interesting, because then that's how everyone knows Oliver, through everything that Felix says, because everyone just likes to pry into everybody's business.
Is that right, that he had to put his fingers down his mother's throat to make her sick?
Farley, that's private stuff. Well, you told us. In confidence.
Throughout the film, whether it was Michael, telling him that he's like a bootlicker and that Felix is going to throw him away anytime he gets bored of him, or the way that Farland always reminds Oliver that, he's nothing, or even Venetia kind of telling him that you're just like a toy, is that it tells us that it is not concrete what Oliver wants. And so when he senses that maybe Felix is drawing away or growing distance or even getting bored, he tries to find different avenues to stay in Saltburn or to stay within Felix's life, whether that's getting with Venetia or getting with Farland, just to kind of cement his way or to get his way through doing these tactics by manipulating, by lying. So the one thing about Oliver is he is an unreliable narrator. Everything we see of Oliver, we don't know who he is, because Oliver is a chameleon. From the way that he acts with Venetia, the way he acts with Farland, the way he acts with the parents, the way he acts with Felix, we are just getting a mirrored version of what they want. So Felix likes broken creatures. So, because he has a savior complex, so Oliver becomes that broken creature. So every time he's with Felix, he's always timid and shy and and, you feel sorry for me, Felix. Like, look at me. When he's with Venetia, he's like this, he's this dominant figure. He's this sexually liberated and confident man. When he's with Farland, he also has that energy. So he mimics and transforms into what the other person wants and needs, because who he really is doesn't matter. Because if he was who he is, it would never get him anywhere. So what he needs to do, he needs to shapeshift and he needs to transform. So throughout the whole film, we never really get to know who Oliver is. Even at the very end, we don't even know if he's performing or not. And that's one thing I really, really love. Now, before I get to the bathtub scene, everyone wants us to get to the bathtub scene. We have to talk about Oliver's erupt obsession with Felix. Now, after I finished reading the film, I had a couple of questions. So what I did was I found the manuscript of Saltburn and I read it, and I got to the part where where Oliver sees Felix for the first time. So he never knew Felix prior to this. So when Oliver stares out the window and sees Felix, that is the very, very first time he sees Felix, and then his obsession starts beginning. Now, we don't really see anything else kind of dangerous about his obsession. He only kind of stares at Felix through the window while he's making out with Annabelle or India, and that's kind of what we see. I would have loved more context, more development in that obsession, even if it was subtle, even if we had, because we see Oliver spending time in Felix's room. So if there were moments where Felix goes, "Have you seen my underwear? I swear I left it here," or "Have you seen this? I swear I left it here." Like, if we had Oliver collecting Felix's used tissues or underwear, or, even to extents of used condoms, or creating a shrine for Felix in his dorm, would have helped us, the viewer, kind of understand the magnitude of that obsession. Because when we jump into the bathtub scene, it's just so abrupt and so quick. We're like, wait, there was no really build-up to get to that bathtub scene. There was just him staring at the window, and then we get to the bathtub scene. If there was these little trinkets that he hoarded of Felix, it would have just made so much sense. So then there would be a genuine fear when Felix asks Oliver to come to his house. We could be like, "No, Felix, don't do it. He's literally insane. We don't know what he's up to." But, instead we don't know. Like, yeah, sure, take this little boy with you that, might have a crush on you. Yeah, because then when he gets to the bathtub scene, you start drinking the bath water, where I like to go vitamin C from the bathtub. It's just like I see what you were trying to do there, but I would have loved more context. Because in that moment that he does that, everything becomes masks off. Like, Oliver's just going to be unhinged from there on out. Because Oliver has a mission. Back to Felix having a savior complex. When he answers Oliver's phone, and then he gets the mother, and then he tries to surprise Oliver by taking him to the family. Now, I found this scene so embarrassing. I found this scene more embarrassing than the bathtub scene. Because the bathtub scene, I get. In terms of someone's obsession, I get it. I would never do it, but I understand it. But when it is revealed to Felix that Oliver is not poor, but actually very, very well off. His parents, the way he lives, his home, looks like he's upper middle class, or even this is how you know that I'm not rich, because I'm like, wait, what's higher than upper class? But his family is well off, and he has siblings, and then he created this whole, he's a chameleon also to his parents, because then he created this whole facade of what he is when he's in Oxford. And then Felix tries to play the part because he doesn't want to, of course, rightfully so, get angry at Oliver in front of his parents. But then he tells Oliver, "Yo, after your birthday party, you need to get the hell out, because you lied to me and I can't be around it." Rightfully so. Now Oliver is scared because everything's coming apart. This is not how he planned. Like, he wants to be with Felix because he's obsessed with Felix, and he wants to be with Felix, right? So then birthday happens. Everyone's singing happy birthday to Oliver. No one even knows Oliver, so it's so embarrassing when no one knows his name, which is also so funny, because it just shows that everyone's just so performative. Nobody cares about anybody. which is so sad also. He goes into the maze where Felix is performing with a different woman, and she leaves because she finds it creepy. She's thinking that Oliver was spying on them, and then Felix is just so done. He's like, get away from me, I hate you. Like, leave, please. And then Felix loses it. The mask comes off. He starts crying, and he just starts saying, I just want to be with you. Oh, you're my best friend, and I love you. And I was just performing. Everyone performs for you. Everyone loves you, Felix, and I love you. And then Felix is like, I don't, like, feels like there's one thing that I know, and it's you make my blood run cold.
But I do know you. You make my fucking blood run cold.
And Oliver hands him the bottle of wine, starts puking. Felix takes a sip from that wine and then leaves. The next day, everyone's in panic and Felix is dead. And the parents are like, oh my God, our son's dead. Now because they're British and we can't really show emotion, they went back to have lunch while Farland and Venetia are crying. At the party, Oliver saw Farland taking lines. So when they were having lunch, because it looks like Felix overdosed. And so when Farland's like to Oliver, why the hell are you here? Oliver's like, well, you shouldn't be, throwing rocks at glass houses because you were out there doing lines. And then the dad, Sir James, is like, get the hell out, because he thought that he had a part in it. And then Farland starts crying, tells him to leave. And then they have the funeral scene, which is very, very long. And because because Oliver's crazy, he is seen at the freshly buried grave, laying on the soil, and he essentially takes off his clothes and starts going to town on the grave, giving that soil his vitamin D. Now, this scene I found this scene so disturbing than the bathtub scene, because there's one thing to drink bathtub water, another thing to put your dick in the soil of your dead lover / obsession. It was just so uncomfy. And I think it was unnecessary, but hey, who am I? And then Phoenicia's seen in the bathtub and she's telling Oliver that you're like a leech. You ate him from the inside out. All you do is take, all that kind of stuff. And she's like so vulnerable. Oliver takes a chance to kiss her. And she's like, are you wearing his aftershave? He's wearing Felix's aftershave, obvi. And then he leaves, and then he comes back, puts razor blades on the bathtub. We wake up the next day, girl's dead. She unlived. We don't know if she unlived herself or Felix did it, but come on. Or if Oliver did it, but come on. Oliver, you're like the number one suspect here. So Sir James basically wants Oliver to leave because the mother doesn't want Oliver to leave, but the father does. So he's like, look, how much money you want? Ollie's like, no, I want to stay. I want to be there for her. And he's like, how much fucking money do you want? Gives her money. Oliver pisses off. A couple of years pass, and Oliver just looks so different. Your boy is hot. You can tell what he's wearing is high end, but it's not in your face. That subtle luxury that rich people wear. In the newspaper, I think it was like 2022 or somewhere in that period. And it turns out Sir James died. We don't know how. But then he sees this as an opportunity to get back with the mother. So it's revealed that he starts like following her. So he finds the coffee shop. She sees him. She's like, Ollie, is that you? Oh my God, you look so good. You look so well. And he's like, hi. And she's like, how are you? And he's like, I'm not doing well. Because, he's still a chameleon. She's like, you should come back to Saltburn with me. And he's like, really? Yeah. And then we fast forward and the mother is literally on her deathbed. And then we see like these scenes where she's signing her will, and we know she's signing Saltburn for Ollie, because why wouldn't she? Oliver was the bestest friend of Felix, and so it's revealed that he kind of orchestrated this whole thing, because in the beginning he's speaking almost in an interview style, and it's revealed that he wasn't speaking to us, but he was speaking to the mother, kind of telling her what he did, and he's essentially saying, I hate the rich. I hate you all. You don't work hard for anything that you do, but I did. I worked hard. And then he reiterates, was I in love with Felix? Did I love him? And then he's like, I loved him, but was I in love with him? And I'm like, you were in love with Felix, and you were also obsessed with Felix. But because Oliver never got the chance to know Felix. in order for him to develop genuine feelings for him. He loved the idea of Felix. He loved that Felix was beautiful, and that was enough to fuel his obsession, you know? But he never knew Felix, and Felix never knew Oliver. And it just goes to show that you just fell in love with an idea of something, that you wanted to latch onto something, and then therefore you latched onto Felix. Could have been Venetia. So then, yeah, he reveals to her the whole plan, that he flattened Felix's tire for them to meet, that when they were at the bar where he was trying to buy drinks, he pretended he didn't have money so Felix would come and save him. He lied about his father dying, as we, know. And then we show that he takes out her breathing tube, just rips it out like a carnaged animal. It was so terrifying. She dies, and then the final end scene to "Murder on the Dance Floor." We get Felix, we get Oliver dancing naked. We see Oliver dancing naked in the house, but it's like kind of backwards, So instead of it being the beginning, he starts at the end of the house, works his way to the front of the house, which is so fun to see. And he's dancing and has everything. He's doing line of coke, he's living his life. And then we get to one of the rooms, or the ballroom, I don't know which room. And in the middle is the jester house, kind of playhouse thing that he saw in his room. And on top of them is the rocks, or the pebbles, that have the name of each person of Saltburn. Felix's family have a tradition of when someone passes away, you write their name on a pebble and you throw it in the water. So he has it all lined up there. And it's I love it. It was so beautiful. It's such a great visual cue because it's like a little theater box, and it just shows how everyone was just performing. Everyone was putting on a show, and everyone was just playing their part. And then the film finishes. And then that's all. That's what we get. The film is visually beautiful. The soundtrack, the sound design, the lighting, everything about it was superb. The costume, the way that costume represents not just time and place, but one's significance within society in terms of your social class. The way that Oliver's clothes are all brand new and not lived in, and the way that we just know that he just bought it from the shop to wear it because he thinks that's what rich people are supposed to wear. While the rich people are all wearing like clothes that are worn out and just, to be honest, ugly, or just so, like Felix is always wearing polo shirts, either Ralph Lauren, one of his shirts has like a hole in it, and it's because rich people don't care. Like when you're rich, when you're that uber rich, you don't care to prove that you're rich because you're rich. Like you have nothing to prove. While Oliver had so much to prove within kind of the context of where he wanted to belong. That's the story. Did I like it? It was a good time. I mean, you get Jacob Elordi and Barry in a room and you have one obsessed with the other. I would have loved for them to just love each other. Like sometimes I feel when like a guy likes another guy in that sense, it's never a happy ending. And I'm like, can the gays just be happy? Can you just give us that? Like, why do we have to go to this elaborate, erotic, gothic kind of roundabout just to say that he loved a boy and he didn't know how to express it, so he killed them and got the house in the end. Anyway, that's my review on Saltburn. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's a fun ride. Yeah, that's all. Thanks, guys. Bye.